Sparking Zero's DLC has just changed everything. Super Limit Breaking Neo is almost a sequel-sized expansion that is giving us 30 new characters, 4 new stages, new game modes, tons of new customizations, and updates to already existing characters such as team attacks and new supers. It fixes a problem that people had with the roster. It even adds the OG Dragon Ball and GT characters that people have wanted for years into Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and it finally makes the game feel like Budokai Tenkaichi again. In fact, even better. Hello everyone, it's me again, Steve Doja here, back to more Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, and one thing I'm really happy to say about Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is that it doesn't even end here at Super Limit Breaking Neo. Obviously this is going to add a ton of content to the game and obviously make the game way fresher than it's ever been, and like I said, I personally think Sparking Zero has surpassed Tenkaichi 3 with the addition of the Super Limit Breaking Neo pack. But also, if you actually look at the game's cover, they made a new game cover for it as well, which I think is absolutely insane, but it's also kind of a reference to the fact that we don't have games made the way they used to be before. A great example is if you wanted to add more to a Dragon Ball game, a good example is Budokai 2 to Budokai 3, you would just make a new game. Even if it was just something like Budokai 3 to Infinite World, it would have to be an entirely new game. Tenkaichi 2 to Tenkaichi 3, but now, a year and a half passes for Sparking Zero, nearly 2 years, and instead of just making a new game, they just update the existing one. That's why it's got a new cover, because we don't just make a whole new game for these anymore. And I think that's beautiful, because Super Limit Breaking Neo is obviously going to keep going on past this point. It's going to get updated again when the Galactic Patrol arc comes out, and then again when the Granola arc comes out, and those are happening years in advance. Again, the game's cover is going to change when that new anime update comes out and adds Moro and all these other new characters as expansions for Super Limit Breaking Neo. Maybe it'll be called Limit Breaking Neo 2 by then, but who knows, man. They're gonna put Moro on the game's cover, UI Goku again, probably with his giant Susanoo like stand clone thing. Maybe they'll even have Daima SJ4 on it, because weirdly enough, leading up to the reveal of the Moro arc, they do include Dragon Ball Daima there, so we could actually see a Daima resurgence or any kind of new additions like anime exclusive stuff to the Moro arc. I can't wait to see what they add to the Moro arc, and obviously that's going to extend to what they add to the video games such as Sparking Zero. And then the Granola arc is going to get animated like after that, which is going to probably be like 2028, 2029. So Sparking Zero obviously isn't just going to get a Sparking Zero 2. It's most likely just going to update. Another great example of games kind of behaving like this is the Monster Hunter series. Before, you would have Monster Hunter 4 and Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, where you had to basically just buy the game twice. Just like Monster Hunter, Dragon Ball's going for the approach of, well, we don't need to make a whole new game. You can just make a big expansion update instead. And I think that's unbelievably cool. It's very nice to see Dragon Ball doing stuff like this, especially because, you know, I love Dragon Ball and I would like Dragon Ball to get the same treatment as Monster Hunter, because the Monster Hunter's a great game as well. It's not even just about mechanical depth or content in general as well, it's also about the overall aesthetic, because they're adding like super giant like charge up key effects, which I absolutely love, by the way, because Dragon Ball characters have always had ridiculously big auras and key waves. Maybe we'll even finally be able to change the color of our key effects like they promised us before the game came out, because we still can't do that yet, so maybe it'll drop in this update. Being able to add like giant aura effects on your character, then also change the color of the aura, that's going to be beautiful, man. That's going to be one of my favorite aspects of the game by far. Let me know what you think about that, actually. Do let me know which feature you guys are actually most excited about in this. The ones I'm most excited about, I'll be completely honest, are costumes and team attacks, because I want to remind you guys, hopefully this trailer isn't like every other Sparking Zero trailer, where they just show you literally all of the content, and then by the time you get the game, you're like, oh, there's actually nothing past what they showed in the trailers. That's very sad. You know, I would like to see how many team attacks they actually added to the game, because I think that's such an obscenely cool feature, and I would also like to see how many costumes they put in the game too, because costumes are not only just a really cool way to have characters have extra gimmicks. A good example is we see End of Z Goku use a Kamehameha, kind of similar to the one used on Piccolo Jr., or the one he used on Uber literally, where he just fires a Kamehameha downwards and makes a crater from it. Costumes are a really cool way to add new like moves to characters, but also a great way to personalize your favorite characters, especially when you're playing the game online. Like if two people see each other with different costumes, they might be like, hey, this guy's fit is kind of fire, or oh, hey, he did a really cool job of making his character look cool. Another thing I really appreciate is the model changes. Now, it's a very slight thing, but you can actually see that during the Goku versus Cooler section, they did obviously add a new version of Super Saiyan Goku Mid to be more specific, that he has moves he used against Cooler. And specifically, you can see he does look exactly the way he does in the movie during certain animations. Now, obviously, it's not a full model change. It's just his model like quickly changes a tiny bit for a few seconds of the attack animation and then reverts back to normal. I would prefer this model just got a whole update over overall, but it's still very nice to see that they are willing to do model changes. Like, accessories also let characters change moves as well, to be fair. So I would like more accessories in the game. Obviously, I would like angel halos to be available for everyone. You know, that's obviously very cool. I would like other different, like, small gimmicks to be available for some characters, but who knows? Again, they're not showing us everything in the trailer so far, right? Because we didn't see every single character's super and ultimate attack, so I want to assume they're not showing everything. But we could get another trailer that maybe shows us more, because they did say 30 plus new characters, you know, more costumes, more accessories, more stages. And speaking of more stages, we didn't get any more stages that look destructible other than the Arctic. I'm really hoping they make that a destructible stage, because it should realistically turn into a volcanic wasteland, but we'll have to wait and see, because obviously Sparking Zero seems pretty against doing stage destruction. Although I'm pretty sure more people care about their favorite characters being done well, and especially because we're getting way more of them too now. A good example is that this new update obviously fixes the roster problem that people are having with the game. Now, most people's roster issue with Sparking Zero isn't that the roster is too small or anything, it just didn't have a really expansive set of characters, especially when you compare it to Tenkaichi 3, because Tenkaichi 3 really added characters of all eras and all fighting styles, and they did their best possible to get everybody in, right? It doesn't matter how weird they were adding peel-off machines, giving great ape forms to every character. They were just doing like anything, because that's like back when DBZ ended, so they were really just stretching the creativity and the limits of the content as far as they possibly can. But now that we have Dragon Ball Super and obviously all these new things that come with it, like Daima, then, you know, Sparking Zero devs, they were like, oh, we don't need to add all of that stuff, but now they actually are. And I think that's good, because obviously Sparking Zero does have an issue of people only picking like the same, like, what, 15 characters, and you never see anything else. But some people's favorites are finally back. A good example is one of my friends told me that Supreme Kai has not actually been playable in a Dragon Ball game since Tenkaichi 3, which is ridiculous because he's a main character. He's still around in Dragon Ball Super a lot. And when you think about it, it's kind of ridiculous. This guy has had a moveset in the anime and in Tenkaichi 3 for ages, but they've literally just never made him playable. They will always pick the weirdest character, like Ribrian or Kakunsa or Bergamo, to show up like in the game, but like not Supreme Kai. It's just a very interesting choice. Like, dude, don't forget Daima DLC 1 was giving us Pansy. Who wants Pansy? Just give us Supreme Kai. Give us Daima Supreme Kai. Why are you giving us Pansy? Like, what does that even do for who asked for Pansy? Just be completely serious. On top of roster expansions, I actually do want to mention Vegeta and OG Dragon Ball characters being included, because finally, a lot of people's favorites just locked away hidden in there. There are some really interesting choices, because we see in the trailer there is a base, you know, GT Vegeta, and he goes Super Saiyan. Does he unlock Super Saiyan 4 as a transformation, or is he just like two separate standalone characters? Because they did this with the Daima SSJ4s as well, and I didn't really like it then. I know Vegeta needs a machine to obviously go SSJ4, he needs like the Blood Swave thing, but I would still like if they just gave him like a general like power-up or just transformation animation into Super Saiyan 4, because the main selling point of Sparking Zero was supposed to be, oh, look at all of these characters and how crazy battles can get and how expanded all of their movesets are. And don't get me wrong, for the most part, it, you know, pretty much succeeds in that avenue. But it's really weird when you just pick Dragon Ball Z Goku and there's no option to just turn him into Daima SSJ4 if you get like the max skill counter for it or something. You know, that just doesn't feel right, especially because Goku like Mini can go from base to Super Saiyan 4, but Z Goku, they didn't add Super Saiyan 4 Daima onto, like, they didn't even make a separate Daima, you know, Z Goku that just has like costume changes are a really easy way to just make a character unlock new skills, right? They've already established this. So why don't we just make a costume for DBZ Goku that lets him go SSJ4 Daima? So I'm worried about what they'll do with base Vegeta in this, if it's only going to just be base and then Super Saiyan 1. That would be kind of disappointing. They could literally just add 2 forms to Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta's character slots and just put them behind. I think that would fix that problem really, really easy, but we'll have to wait and see what they do with that, because there are other characters in this that can also transform and do a bunch of weird stuff, but we don't really get to see too much of it. I think a pretty good example of that is Devilman, because obviously Devilman is a gimmick character, but his gimmick is so unique that people still talk about it to this day, with his ultimate attack actually scaling damage based on how evil his opponent was. Now, obviously in the original Tenkaichi 3 game, it's not like unique for every character. There was like a set category every character had for how evil they actually were. A good example is Kid Goku is an innocent person, so he literally takes no damage from it. Even base Goku is an innocent person, so he takes no damage from it, but the moment he goes Super Saiyan, because because there's like anger and malice flowing through his being, you know, to activate Super Saiyan. Even when he's a calm and mastered Super Saiyan, like in the Cell Saga, he actually still takes a little bit of damage. And then you even have characters like Janemba, which is very interesting. Janemba takes massively different damage based on his forms, because first form Janemba isn't technically a bad guy, he's just kind of like a silly, goofy, big creature thing that's just causing harm. But Super Janemba is really, really evil, so he takes an ocean of damage. It's a really unique mechanic, and I'm very curious how Sparking Zero implements it. They'll probably just use the same category system, where they put a bunch of different characters into set categories of innocent, slightly evil, extreme evil, and pure evil, right? It's probably going to scale like that, but I'd really like to see it be unique to every character. Like, you know, maybe like Cooler takes less damage than Frieza, because Frieza's just harder to learn his lesson. And that will be it for the video. I can't wait for Super Limit Breaking Neo to come out, because obviously this is going to get its own set of DLCs and updates and free updates, combat system overhauls like we got with the base game. It's going to get a bunch of stuff. And then obviously eventually this version of the game is going to evolve even further beyond, when we obviously get the big new content that's going to come out with the anime's release of the Galactic Patrol arc. And then even further beyond when we get to the Granola arc. And hell, by the time we get to that point, we'll actually even know if we're going to get the Black Freeze arc after Superheroes storyline, because Toyotaro is continuing the Dragon Ball Super manga. So without further ado, I think that's a great place to end the video. Again, I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like in the video. Don't forget to subscribe, it greatly supports the channel. Let me know again in the comment section what your favorite part of this update is, because mine, obviously, costumes and team attacks. I can't wait to see more team attacks. But that'll be it. I do love you all. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next time, gang. Take care and peace. Bye bye.